All right. You guys ready to go?
Cheers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're ready.
You ready to go, Joe?
Ready.
Okay. Talk a little bit more, Pat. Let me hear your mic.
Yep. How's that?
That's good.
Okay. You go.
Yep. Okay. All right, guys. So welcome to the Broadcast Braddahs. I'm Justin Faisongo, and I got Jonah Hulava here. And we're here super excited today to welcome a couple very important people from a very important athletic sports company slash, well, we're going to let them explain it all to us. But we're going to get the business out of the way first here. So sitting to my right here, we have Pat O'Connell, president of Florence Marine X. Born in Chicago in 1971, moved to Newport Beach, then Dana Point in the early 80s. Represented the USA in the 1990 World Amateur Surfing Championships in Japan. Co-star Bruce Brown's classic remake of Endless Summer in 1994. ASP World Tour pro surfing career from 95 to 2005. Began a small startup clothing company called The Realm with Mike Parsons in 97. Began international marketing position for Hurley in 2005. Eventually become the VP of Sports Marketing. Excuse me. Inducted into the Huntington Beach Surfers Hall of Fame in 2009. And we're going to come back around here. Sitting to my left is Bruce Moore, Director of Innovation and Sustainability for Florence Marine X. Mm-hmm. I don't have any early life information on you. Can you tell me where you grew up?
I grew up in L.A., actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So born in L.A. Bachelor of Applied Science, focus on industrial and product design from the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. Started with O'Neill, product designer in 1996 through 98. Senior wetsuit designer in 98 through 2000. Product development manager from 2000 to 2001. Contract designer from 2001 to 2003 for companies like Boost Mobile, Billabong Reef, Fox Racing. And then I went to Fox Racing for a couple years, 2002 or 1 year, 2002, 2003. Then the big one was Hurley Nike for 17 years, 2003 to 2020. Started out as accessory designer, senior performance designer, director of footwear, director of innovation, VP of merchandise, performance innovation, and VP of performance innovation. So we see where you guys connect, right? So Hurley is where you guys connected.
Yep.
Okay.
O'Neill too.
O'Neill too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Holy surfing portfolio, man.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last bit of business here is Nike sells Hurley to Blue Star Alliance LLC in 2019. John Florence leaves Hurley, walking away from the biggest surfing sponsorship contract in the history to partner with, is it Kandui? Kandui to create Florence Marine X. And then just last week, brother Nathan Florence, Surfer of the Year and Rider of the Year in 2023, signs with Florence Marine X. And that shocked the industry big time. So that brings us to where we're at right now. And really, really excited to have you guys.
Wow.
Thanks for having us.
The amount of detail, I'm really impressed.
I try. I'm a nerd. I'm a
Well
low-key
done.
nerd.
Well done.
Well, I think you missed your stint at WSL.
Yeah, that's okay. I would like to.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's okay too.
Well, we can talk about it.
Nope.
But what's funny is when Justin found out that Pat was coming on, he was like,
Oh my God.
brother, hey, guess go.
Oh.
What are you doing
I
next
could
week?
fanboy so bad right now, but I won't.
Yeah. So we're really stoked to have you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's talk about Florence. I want to, since we're there right now, we can kind of go our way through the history of the whole thing. But starting at Hurley together, or being together at Hurley, and then 2019 when all that changed, and you guys ended up going to, when the company Florence was created, you guys ended up there. And an interesting side note I read in an article from Outdoor or something like that, you were in the process of doing some wetsuit testing with Cal State San Marcos, some professors down there.
Yeah.
And you took that into Florence, and so basically created the first scientifically proven best wetsuit that could be possibly built.
Yeah, we've been doing studies with the Cal State San Marcos, for years, and they've got a great program. It's basically studying biomechanics and how the body works in relation to the sport of surfing. So they've done all types of different studies, and skin temperature studies, paddling, flotation, studying boards, all kinds of fun stuff. And so we just really wanted to support what they're doing as far as, education and giving back and all that good stuff. And so when they had an idea of something that hasn't been researched and no data has been gathered, we would be like, yeah, we could build that and you guys could have it for free, and just give us first look at the data so we can apply it to the products that we make.
Really cool. Huh?
Yeah.
So I know that the first batch of what that article read, the first batch of wetsuits you guys did just like sold right off they were gone. And it kind of did that. Was that kind of the propelling factor of Florence into the design side and all the product mix and all that kind of stuff? Or did you guys have a grand scheme on what you guys were going to do going into the whole thing?
It was basically led by John, and John needs stuff that works. And so whatever environment he's in or whatever he's doing, that's what he wanted gear for. And so we went into this whole thing with the idea of gear versus apparel. And so nowadays, because things have advanced so much, you could actually make apparel that really elevates your performance, whether it's cooling, whether it's sun protection, whether it's mobility, whether it's compression. So we kind of apply all of these ideas to whatever he's using gear for. Yeah.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, I think to what Bruce was saying too is that we realize, certainly with John, he serves more than anyone in the world, and when you get into the sort of feedback and what he sort of, the level of intent and focus that he has on the product that he's using is so much higher than I think anyone else in the world. He understands that, and he will push things until they break. And then he will go, hey, I need this, or this. He's very good at articulating. And, again, he works with Bruce, Ryan Hurley, JP Olson, those guys. This core group of people have been together for over 10 years. And so that level of feedback, there's already that relationship that was started. And so when you kind of go back into where we were doing stuff at Hurley, the difference is now is this is the business. That was sort of the side piece of the business. It was about putting a bunch of graphics on a T-shirt or whatever it was. It was a focus for us to go, absolutely, this is what we want to do. As Bruce said, right, is like, hey, we look at it as equipment. And what John is doing every day is, like, the focus is really simple. I want to be better. I want to surf longer. I mean, there's a million examples of it, but that was the idea. It was really simple. And so, as this business has started to take shape, key things are people are coming to us for equipment. And it's just a really different focus than probably a lot of the other brands. And the relationship has been there for so long, so it makes it really easy.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the utilitarian aspect, right? What you guys
I
are
love that
providing.
phrase, by the way. It's so cool. Yeah.
And that's the world we live in, you just look around the freeways. Everyone drives a Range Rover, right? Do you think they go four-wheeling?
Nope.
You know what I mean? And I think back to being a kid growing up in Hawaii. Everyone wanted to wear board shorts, but board shorts were. It wasn't really, we did everything in our board shorts. You played basketball, you played kickball, you run on the beach, but it wasn't really performance-based, but it was the most performance-based piece of clothing that you had. Besides,
you're not wearing cut-off jeans to run on the beach.
Yeah. And I find it so fascinating that you guys are doing something. You guys are kind of first to market in the utilitarian aspect. You look at the way surfers train now. They're doing a lot more cross training. It's a little more performance based. Where before, I think the industry, or like the customer base down here, was like people would go hikes with their their printed cotton hoodies. Where that doesn't really exist anymore. It's people are kind of find, I can hike a little further with
It can be comfortable.
I can be
Right.
comfortable, right? I can stay overnight. You know, I can do. So I'm super fascinated by Florence, and I'm just really stoked to pick your brain and just kind of hearing you talk about the technical aspects of garments and what goes in the, you know, the rationale with like, you're talking about like wetsuit design based on surfboards. It was like, huh. I mean, I get the whole mobility and, you know, functionality aspect, but like hearing you like designing wetsuits just based off of surfboards is, I guess that makes sense because you're on the thing so
and
much.
We try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way to come up with the best performing gear. And so literally, again, it starts from John. First thing he asks when we have an idea, well, what's it do? What am I supposed to use it for?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I don't like the color, or
It's a matter of function, is what. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's what we try to do when we're designing gear is we look at the environment and we look at what they're doing in that environment, and then we'll try to come up with solutions for that. And so, like we have a saying in innovation, it's like sometimes we fish, sometimes we hunt. And so sometimes we're just fishing around and keeping our ear to the ground and looking for new technologies and how we can apply them. And then sometimes we're hunting. Sometimes we know exactly what we want to accomplish, and we're going out there and we're finding how to accomplish that. And so that's kind of where everything we do is based, is the environment and what they're doing in that environment. And so for us, it's a little bit different. So when you think outerwear, jackets, it's like, oh, I'm cold. I'm, in a rainstorm. And it's like, for us, it's like, well, we were inspired by John's hike. And John is in a really wet environment, and it's also hot and humid. And so for that outerwear piece in the environment that he's using, it's like we have to look at breathability, because if he's in a plastic bag, he's going to wet that garment from the inside out. And so it could be as waterproof as you want, but if he's sweating and the entire garment's wetted out, well, that garment's not working for him. And so those are the types of things that we look at when we're designing gear.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, from what I've seen and what I read and understand, you guys have to be one of the first that have gone after product development and stuff like that, not aiming at market share. Like, we're not gonna, we don't, we're gonna go take some of Patagonia and North Face, and we're gonna do this, and that's how we're gonna build a business. You guys are doing it so much different, which is really, really cool. And I mean, it seems like things are really good. You get Nathan to come on board, and obviously there's even in the paddling world, there's this buzz about you guys, and everyone's like talking about it, and don't know exactly how it's going to apply to what we do yet or whatever, but it's pretty cool. It's really neat. And in a small niche sport like we are part of, it's pretty neat to see that buzz kind of at that level, because we don't get it a lot, except when a new canoe design shows up or something like that that's really big, like, oh my God, that's going to change how we do things, right? And so like these guys who race all the time, and there's a lot of nutrition aspect, but there also is a lot of gear that's important, because if you're paddling 34 miles like he did last weekend, you gotta be comfortable. You get, even if there's a weird print that was done weird on a jersey, it
start sweating.
Yeah, it starts just grinding at you, and after that amount of time, you're rashed and raspberried up, and it's no fun, So
Yeah. And like one thing I want to talk to you guys about too is performance and aerodynamics. And I see what you guys wear, and I could cut some time off your paddles for sure.
Yeah.
It's like you look at bobsledders, and it's like, even if you're not going that fast.
Bro, could you imagine being in a spider suit like the ski guys paddling across the channel?
Hey, if it improves your time and you win.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be great.
Yeah.
No, but I think
dorsal fin on my
the helmet, like the big speed helmet, huh? Yeah. No, I'm joking, but seriously, I mean that's a conversation to have, because there is, I mean, we talk about efficiency all the time, and we focus efficiency on stroke and canoe speed and hull speed and sub-maintaining hull speed and all that kind of stuff. But there's a factor there for sure, especially when you're wet or wind is in your face and it's loose or it might be baggy, and next thing you know, like all those little things add up.
Oh yeah, I've got data on Olympic runners and what some tweaks to their gear did for their times, and even though they're running, you guys are going a lot faster than them.
Right.
It had significant. You'd be blown away by the times you could cut.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just like thermogenics, like dynamics, right? And like temperature, cooling, and whatnot, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Well, and once again, it's basic physics. You think about a parachute, and it's like if you're wearing a parachute, you ain't gonna go as fast.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yep.
So, I was looking, I saw a graphic of like Florence's like top 5, pieces of apparel from your guys' standpoint. Like when you go to a restaurant or like a drive-in, or like, this place is known for its Terry burger. This place is known for its spaghetti or whatever. If you guys like just a first apparel that comes to mind.
I think this is an easy answer.
Yeah. What is it? Is it the Cordura shorts? What do you guys?
I think Bruce and I should write down our answers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We're like on dating game.
Or it's like you remember when we Step Brothers and they're like Velociraptor.
Yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hooded rash guard.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you're wearing, Pat?
No, this is a new version that this is what we call air text. So it's a little bit what Bruce was saying is this is more of light, air comes through. This is not something you probably would wear in the water. Although you probably could, Bruce.
Yeah, that one's light sun protection. So that one's like a UPF 30, but that's more based on moisture management, keeping you cool, quick dry, breathability.
Yeah, okay.
When really high output stuff, you want your stuff to breathe.
And why the hooded rash guard? Why is that like your...
So it's interesting, and this will go back to sort of the genesis of kind of Bruce was saying is like John found basically it was, well, you can tell the story about what John was looking for in the garment, but basically, hey, being in the sun, living in Hawaii, you spend too much time in the sun, it kills day 2, day 3. It zaps your energy future days. And so he really looks at the sun as like almost the enemy.
Right, yeah.
And just is like, hey, if I want to feel as good as I possibly feel is like when I get in the water, wave 1 to wave 101 and then into the next day, he wants to be out of the sun. And so just having this little hood that you can pull over your head and hide
Keep
from
it
the
off
sun.
your neck and
keep it off your neck.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people don't realize too. And the other thing is that makes people really wipes you out is wind.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to kind of hide away, and so it's radically functional. People, it's not like we developed it. I mean, there's been hooded rash guards for a long time, but the use and the sort of like
versatility too, I think is fascinating. What
seems like another level of engineering into it too, though. Materials and
there's definitely some differences between ours and what's out there.
Yep.
And it comes down to kind of simple concepts, and it's like, well, seams don't stretch as much as the fabric does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you put your seams in compression areas versus expansion areas. So that way, in a reach forward, you don't have a seam inhibiting your mobility.
Right.
And then when you look at in-water stuff like rash guards and things like that, it's like, well, you've got the chafe and abrasion factor. And it's like, well, there's sand, there's salt, there's sun, and there's water. Mm-hmm. And so not only is that like really tough on your body, but it's tough on the garments also. And so really that product is to protect people. But you don't think about like, oh, hooded rash guard, it's dorky. It's like, no, that's your protection. You could either wear your sunscreen or you could put this on. Mm-hmm. And what would you rather do? Reapply every 3 hours? And get out of the water or get off your foil or get off the deck of the boat? Or
Right.
do you want to just put this on?
Yeah.
I think it goes into kind of, we were talking about utilitarian solutions, where again, it was built for surfing longer and feeling better the next day, and on wave 1 to 101. But as it applies to other like paddling sports and it works perfect. Like a lot of the people that are doing the crossings that are prone paddling are wearing that because it totally makes sense. And so I think to where Bruce and the team have done really well is like, hey, if an innovation works, it works across a lot of sports and activities. And so that's really at the heart of it. If you get something right, it has multiple uses. And so that's why I think we both sort of said the same thing. It's interesting. Just people keep coming back to that simple thing. It's like, we didn't solve it. It was there. It's just more of the bringing it to attention where it went, oh, that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool. That was a pretty simple answer, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
I was expecting.
that's their spiel, right? They're just keeping it simple.
Yeah, I like it.
You know,
Yeah.
I do have a question. So, like, the big news with bringing on Nathan, and I mean,
Yeah,
everyone,
when's Ivan coming on?
Soon.
all the randoms, and someone like
Family business.
Yeah.
someone like John, right? Like everyone in the surfing world knows who he is. He's had tremendous success. I gotta ask, like, so does John's success in the sport of surfing, like moving forward now that he's got this, this growing utilitarian apparel brand, does his success surfing, does that weigh in on the brand? Like, does that, because like I think back to like the old world, right, where like the Quicksilvers and the other, it's like these guys signing these kind of surfers and whatnot, but this is a totally different format.
Yeah.
And does it weigh on the success of the brand? And I guess my follow-up question is that, does John put any sort of extra mustard, any sort of extra pressure on it?
I can answer a little bit. So, I don't think we're going to sell, or I don't think this business is going to do any better or worse by John winning heats or winning world titles. I think it's a lot of fun when he's doing it, and it's rad to watch. And I look at we're only young once, and John's ability, like he's been. One thing I'll just go back is John has a God-given gift, but what people don't know is how hard that guy works, and he has put a lot of time and energy into his craft. And so, him winning heats it's a thing for him. In his 10, 20 years from now, he's like, hey, I share with his son, daughter, whatever.
Yeah,
That's something. But for our business, it doesn't matter. It's great that he's out in the public doing things that are neat and that people watch and go, wow, he's the best surfer in the world. I think that and the inspiration behind what he's doing. But we're not, like kind of you brought up the Quicksilver and stuff back in the day. I think there was a thought about those guys. Hey, if your guy's winning, it helps you sell board shorts. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really how the brand started on day one. John's just so much more than a surfer. And as long as he's out there doing what he loves, it's like he foils, he sails, he travels to all these crazy places that we want to go to too. And surfing's just one component of who he is as a person and really what this brand embodies. And I think that's why our gear works for so many different water sports.
Yeah.
And for getting to that destination.
Yeah, selfishly, I do like to watch him compete, though.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
'Cause
When
he's
the
that
event
good,
is
huh?
on, I
Yeah,
watch.
yeah,
And,
Yeah.
when he's not in, I sometimes decide not to watch.
Yeah. It's just interesting because, it's literally his name, right? And it's like,
Yes.
and he's this lifelong competitive, he's a prodigy. And I thought that was
And I understand what you're saying. There's so much tie-in now to so much other stuff, like crossing over, and like the hike you were talking about. He does, he did or whatever else. Like there's just so much. His name's already his name, right? He can go out and do whatever he wants. People are going to look. So, whatever you guys build for him to do what he's doing helps a lot of people, helps everybody, in all kinds of different parts of the world doing different things.
Yeah, and there's so much he's accomplished as a professional surfer, and there's so much more that he's accomplishing as a human.
Right.
That's a enthusiastic outdoorsman and waterman.
Yeah.
And so,
And that can translate to a lifetime of
Yes.
of following,
absolutely.
especially with social media and everything else. It's, and one of the questions I'm going to ask you in a minute too is how you translated your passion of surfing into what you're doing now.
Yep.
Because to turn that off at some point in time, it has to be really, really difficult to do.
I always I was so lucky because when my surfing career ended, Bob Hurley helped because I would say this all the time, like I was able to sort of summit Everest over a period of time.
Right.
Not from like you're out to like here's your 9 to 5, here's your fob, here's your computer, make it happen. It was like I was able to still go surfing and do little fun things and still have my passion. It's really hard. A lot of people when they finish, they go into like I joke around and I'm still not great at going to the office all day. Like it's in my soul.
Your
it's
being,
like,
yeah.
it's like this. Wait, I've got to go
if
do
If
what?
the Santa Anas are blowing, you're like,
I got sick.
Yeah.
It's just part of who you are.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like I was really lucky because I had good mentors. And, Bruce and I mean, we've been working together for so long. You spend a lot of time in the office. So you kind of end up, family, whatever. It's just like, that's what you're doing. And it takes you a while, though, because it is hard. Like, it certainly is a lot of my other friend group, they don't have any jobs. They go
Right.
surfing every day.
Right.
And so I see photos and video. I mean, still Kelly is my age, and he's still on tour.
Yeah.
And he's doing a lot of fun
Incredible.
things. And
Yeah.
he's sharing photos. Hey, you want to go? Those are hard.
Yeah.
Not going to lie. Those are hard.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's great because just being able to kind of work your way into it. And then you start to get a couple things that you love to do. Like, we're talking about John. It's so fun to I don't want to say live through him, but it is fun to watch him achieve those things. And you take a great sense of pride about being there and just, it feels rad when he's doing the things that he's doing, So you sort of get that.
Yeah.
That's how and the same for our product and all that stuff.
Yep.
It just becomes your thing that you've replaced the one thing with the other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, I think about that with us and like our passion for paddling or whatever else. And like I said, I'm done competitive racing, but watching him race like sparks something in me. I'm like, oh my God, I want to, be just itching to do it again. But then like what we do together as we, broadcasting and doing this kind of stuff, like kind of channels that
Tell the
passion
story,
into
yeah.
something a little different,
Here's the other thing is that the same behavior that you had to compete
Yeah.
is the same thing with why you're doing well at doing this. Like, sometimes if like I have to go back because from when I was on tour, my favorite thing was not the contest. I love to prepare for the contest.
Okay.
I like to visualize, hey, I was going to Bell's Beach. What boards do I need? And I would go surf like whether it be like Upper Trussels or somewhere, and I would sort of visualize what it was going to be like, and then it was all the stuff around it. And then when the event would happen, surf heats, that was great, but it was the stuff with your buddies and just like having those moments that were really cool. And so, you just replace that with work.
Right.
And you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, what is it? What are we going to do? Okay, how are we going to get after this? Are we going to make it fun? Whatever.
Very cool.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
It's
Yep.
It seems like a really cool opportunity you have, and just kind of hearing your background through with marketing and, you being able to pivot from being a professional surfer to pivoting into, the professional side of things. And
been
you
really
get,
fun.
you get to still play in that industry.
Well, I think like even, when I was reading about, all the stuff you had been through and starting like a startup clothing company. So that desire's always kind of been there anyways.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think what we're seeing today, too, is as, the industry is changing super radically. And it's, where we find ourselves is we couldn't be more fortunate. We've got great teammates, our founders, John, now Nathan, them on board. Like, couldn't have anybody more pure and focused with these guys making the product that all of their time, their knowledge, in an industry that is dying for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, couldn't be in a better place.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of days
Yeah.
you sort of wake yourself up and you sort of pinch, you go, wow, like, we're sort of, page one of writing the new book,
Yeah.
which is pretty fun.
So Bruce, like, I mean, opposite to you, you came out of school wanting to do this.
Yeah. My background is actually industrial design.
Okay.
And so industrial design is basically anything that gets manufactured. Somebody had to decide how big it is, what color the buttons are, how the person interacts with it. And so in school, product design school, you're sort of taught manufacturing processes, materials, how to communicate what's in your melon to somebody 1,000 miles away who's actually going to have to make it. And so you could go into electronics, you could go into furniture, you could go into a million different directions. And so my senior year in industrial design school, I was like, well, you're going to be graduating. What do you want to do? And so I liked toys and I liked surfing. And so I contacted a company to see if they'd sponsor my senior project, and they did. And so my senior year in industrial design school, I designed a wetsuit booty, a couple other projects. And when I graduated, they hired me, wanted me to finish
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of got into technical apparel.
Right.
Was with a nuts and bolts background on how to make things work, and then applying that to really what has to work, or you get hypothermia, wetsuits. And so that kind of led me down the road at technical apparel.
Very cool.
And is this like, so back when you designed that booty, was the surf booty, was that kind of still new, or were people wearing surf booties back then?
They had been around.
They've been around. Okay, so they've been
for a
around.
while.
Bro, I had booties
did-
in the mid 80s.
But
Yeah,
did you see something that
And they would fill up with water, and they were like big clown shoes. They were so bad.
I'm out of the whole new.
Yeah, Hawaii's a whole nother level, bro. Yeah.
What year was that?
That was in '96, and so
Okay.
really what inspired that, because like booties for surfing, they were kind of designed.
I don't like booties, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, I like to feel things under my feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They came from the dive industry.
Right.
So
Okay.
they were literally like
Shoes.
thick shoes.
Yeah, okay.
That really didn't flex and all that good stuff. So in '96, when I did that project, I was really inspired by the new age of surfing, and that's when everybody started doing airs and really big turns, and so
Grip and
yeah,
traction.
it's very skate inspired. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
that booty was designed around how people were surfing at that point in time.
Yeah.
So flexibility, ollie pads, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Cool. My mind's burning at a million miles an hour, so I want to get this question out before I forget it. Sustainability aspect of the company. When you source materials and stuff like that, how does that work? I'm in the steel business, so we have ISO certifications where we track material all the way back to almost where it's mined and stuff like that. So, as a company that is promoting that responsibility to, being a sustainable and renewable kind of resource-based type of thing, how do you guys manage that? I'm really curious to know how that works.
Well, with apparel, there's so many facets of sustainability. And so, especially when you're talking about performance apparel. And so for us, we just have to weigh everything and make the best decisions we can.
Right.
And so we look at all aspects. And so we look at carbon footprint, we look at water usage, we look at human welfare at factories, we look at eutrophication, and so that's water runoff that goes into ponds that causes algae blooms and chokes the fish out. We look at really the waste of our materials, and we look at the chemistry of the
So
finishing.
do you
on the
guys
fabric.
physically go audit some of these people? Like you go see their factories and look at what they're doing?
What we do is we tag on to the big guys' coattails.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
and
yeah.
so we know
That makes sense. Let them spend the money.
We know if we're at if we're at a company that makes Patagonia product, that they've gone through the proper auditing.
Right.
And now the auditing is so big and vast that we're able to do that. We also look at the factory's certifications because that's a third-party certification, and we could rely on that. But some of the simpler things around sustainability that you wouldn't think of is durability. If our product breaks in 6 months and you throw it in a
why buy it,
landfill,
right?
it's like we'd rather have stuff that lasts for 10 years, so you don't have to buy new stuff and all the carbon emissions that go into, let alone making a product but getting it to the shelf. And so it's really not just filling up landfills with product that breaks, it's everything that it took to make that product.
I never thought about the other end of that. Like you talk about the waste factor of it and the disposal of it. I never ever thought about that. In my mind, sustainability is like, oh, okay, we're gonna source our stuff from here, and so we can have renewable resources and things like that, and we're helping do it that way. But on the other end of it, that never even crossed my mind. The whole, well, you're gonna throw it away in 6 months. Why make it? Right?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. Yep.
And then really we use recycled materials whenever we can, because there's enough polymer-based materials in the world to recycle that you don't really need to pull new ones out of the ground. We'd look at simple things like being on calendar, being on time. And so if we're late and we have to air product in, instead of putting it on a boat, we're doubling our carbon footprint.
Yep.
We look at what's acceptable. And so it's like every fabric is going to have a different shade. And so a lot of companies are like, oh, no, that's not perfect. Remake it. And so for us, we're like, well, it's a little off. Do better next time, but we're not going to take all that fabric and light it on fire. We're going to accept it. So there's all types of little things on a daily basis that you can do to be sustainable.
Yeah.
There's a startup company we're working with right now that's coming up with polybag replacements. And so it's seaweed based, and we're super stoked to be working with them. It's not at scale yet. And so commercial viability to use it in our entire product line isn't quite there yet. But what we can do is we could bring exposure to that company so that they get more funding, and then they could
Ramp up
and take their technology to scale and really change the world.
Right.
And so just bringing awareness to good causes, that's being sustainable. So there are so many little things that we think about on a daily basis versus, beating our chest that we're making everything, the best way we possibly can. Because at the end of the day, we're making gear that has to perform. And so we just have to balance everything we do and make the best decisions we can.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So speaking of performance, obviously, the brand is named after, a professional surfer. And I know you design apparel for ocean athletes, but if you had to, Justin and I always talk about not wanting to like cubbyhole ourselves. I mean, here we are talking to you fine gentlemen. Like usually we talk to paddlers, and I'm not the biggest fan of like
most of the time we're drunk and we're
But what other ocean athletes do you have in mind that could really benefit from Florence, or anyone in that for that matter, right? Not just ocean athletes.
Yeah.
People.
You want to take that one, Pat?
I'll just start with, so part of the business and what we've done is interesting, is we've created a test pilot program.
Right.
And so the whole idea sort of came about as Bruce and the team were working on a specific product. And there were probably 8 protos sitting in the office. And we're like, well, what are we going to do with this? And it was, pretty cold here. And it's a windshield. It's a sort of version of the hooded rash guard, but it has a smooth exterior to block from wind.
Right.
Yep. And so we were like, hey, there's a lot of interesting people out there that would be great to get feedback from. So we sent it out to these 8 different people, and then we set up a call about a month later. Everybody had these really radically different experiences and used the product.
So like different use cases here, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, where'd you wear it? What'd you do? And the feedback was incredible. And it was kind of really opened up something for all of us. And it was like, wait a second, we have network of people that do rad things every single day.
Yeah.
Let's put the product in their hands.
Yep.
And that was literally like light went off. Like, yep, he's the head test pilot. He's the one that sort of maybe conceptualizes an idea, but there's all these other people that can go and do it. Whether they're, we've had people who are Olympic sailors. We've had, it goes across the board.
Yeah. The test pilot portfolio you guys have is super impressive because it's a lot of people. I don't know who they are.
Yes.
And I kind of like the fact that it's like normal people in the environment using the product versus just like somebody cash cow.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, which is radically
organic.
different than our background. We came from big
hire the best guy. The
kind of like
most
what we're
visible.
touching on earlier,
right?
With product and product testing. It was like it was held so close to chest. Because if somebody gets a shot of that thing, somebody's going to knock it off and beat you to market.
Okay.
And so for us, we're like, no, we want normal people to give us unbiased feedback on how this works, because that's the person who's going to appreciate and buy that type of product. So we know before we go to market whether it works or not and whether they gravitate to it. And so before it was like, no, everything's tested internally. Nobody knows about it till it's on the rack.
Yeah.
And now it's like, not only can we get great feedback and make our products better, but we bring in this community of people doing radical stuff in our product.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was just a brilliant idea.
It sounds like it's right up your alley too, Bruce, because you kind of strike me as like someone who likes to tinker.
Yep.
And so when you hear like this guy's like, oh no, I think it needs to be shorter here, or that guy's like, oh, it needs to be wider there, so it's like, oh, give me that thing, so I could see that.
Yeah. And what you try to do is kind of look beyond the feedback. It's like, is that short because you're using it for something you shouldn't be using it for, or in a different environment, or something like that? But all feedback is good feedback, and you could usually pull out like what they really mean by what they said.
So interesting though, the first round we were a week or 2 weeks away from placing a buy on that particular product. The team had done a lot of work to get it to where it was. We thought, hey, it's buy ready. We're ready to go. Feedback came back and it wasn't positive. We scrapped it and we started over. And it testament to the team. So it's like, hey, this isn't just it's not just a marketing ploy. It was like, no. We're actually going to take this feedback to what Bruce said is like, hey, there's some feedback that I think a lot of times when people are asked their feedback, they feel like they need to answer something.
Right.
So they may just say, blah, 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 whatever. It's when you hear the same thing multiple times. And like, one of the things, like we now have these little loops in the back of all of our product. And one of the shirts that we did is this, an expedition shirt. It's a vented sort of collared shirt. This wasn't where this exactly came from, but it was the first time I had heard someone say it. Was like, hey, I want to wear that shirt every day. I don't want to wash it. I just want to hang it out to dry.
Okay.
And it was like, oh yeah.
Speaking of sustainability.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
He's like,
save water too.
I'm just going to hang it up and I'm going to walk back the next day. And there's a guy from Australia. He lived up in Queensland and it's hot. And he just would hang it out. And it was like, that makes total sense. Same with the board short.
Yeah.
You're not going to wash it.
Right.
You just hang it out. And it's like just these little pieces that you get are insane.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And the application of that, which is pretty cool too, for you guys to hear it and apply it. That's pretty neat because, I mean, you guys have been part of the big machine before. Like, whatever. It's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say a testament to the team because they actually take the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. They take it like, okay, cool, yeah, we can do this better or whatever it is.
Yeah, and really the worst thing a designer could have is having a closed mind.
Yep.
And saying, nope, I know this is the right way to do it. And it's like, well, you're not going to be buying it. You're going to get one free. It's all of these other people
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, that's right.
That are
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be buying it. And
100%,
if they're telling you
It needs this.
it probably does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so interesting what you guys are doing because you guys touched on it earlier. The world is changing, not just your industry, but on a lot of different, media is different, right? Here we are on this platform, and everything is a lot more hands-on, right? And we always ask for feedback from our community all the time. Like, hey, does the microphones work? And stuff like
we're
that.
doing that
And
while we're broadcasting.
yeah,
all the time.
so it's a great time to do these things, to kind of, someone like John, you touched on earlier, he left, one of the biggest surf sponsorships in history. The balls it took to just do something, I'm sure there was some fear there, maybe, I don't know, but we're in that kind of world where you can do those kind of things, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's pretty neat to
Well,
hear.
I think we're in the kind of world now where it makes sense to do those kind of things because, it's so visible. People see it and they're like, oh, okay. Like, you don't believe in you don't believe in that anymore. Like, okay, we're going to move on to something else, So
Yeah.
there's a responsibility to the consumer and yourself. I mean, it may be easy to stay and make all the money, but I mean, you can be happy about it. Is there a better way of doing it? Obviously, he found a better way of doing it.
Yeah, he made it his own, and I think it's cool that it's a brand that's not just like when I think of it. I've wore the shorts and I've tried on. I visit your guys' shop on PCH, and I don't. My first thought isn't I don't think of a surf brand. I do think of that utilitarian, like, yeah, if I wanted to go camping or something, and I'd wear your gear, and it looks good too. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I like to hear that.
Yeah.
yeah. So
I mean, it's amazing stuff. I mean, I love seeing it. It's really, really cool.
yeah.
What's in the future? What's in the card decks? Like, what do you guys got going on?
That you can share.
Yeah, that you can share.
I think we got a good foundation right now.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of our categories are working pretty good. Board shorts are great, in-water stuff, the utility tops for training and being in the sun. Those are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We could always be better. I think and John pushes us that way. We put something in his hands that we think is really good. And he's like, well, can it be lighter? Can it be warmer? Here's what I'm looking for. And we're like, this is the best jacket we've ever made in our past life. And
Right.
he's like,
Oh, wow.
it could be better. And
It keeps you on your toes. That's cool.
yeah, so I think we got a good foundation. We just want to keep making things better. And so
Okay.
I think there's some opportunities out there right now where we could kind of complete the kit. And so it's like, okay, what's your next to skin layer? What's your mid layer? What's your outer layer if you're on land? And so we're looking at where we've got missing holes there. And it's like if you could bring 3 pieces of apparel on a trip around the world, we want to be able to create those 3 pieces where
Right.
you could go anywhere.
Yep.
And so I think
I love that.
would
Yeah,
be like
that
our
use case. Yeah.
ultimate goal where you could,
EDC, your everyday.
yeah,
Everyday something.
where you could just mix and match and whatever environment you are, you're like, oh, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this plus this. Oh, today I might need all 3 of these things, but it works in every type of environment.
Right.
I think sun protection is still going to be one of our number one things because that's what we get pushed the most on.
Well, it's in every environment that's out there, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're at 30,000 feet or if you're at sea level.
Right.
The sun is a very huge factor in what you're doing.
If you're outdoors, it's
Yeah.
a deal.
Yeah.
Although after feels like 6-month winter, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure. Right. Yeah.
I'll be keeping my hood down.
Yeah. I get that.
So we know your shop. Then that's your headquarters, right, on Pacific Coast Highway.
Yep.
Where else can we find your product besides online? Are you guys in any other stores out there?
Yeah, Pat could go through that.
How many do you want? No,
Let's go with the top 5.
Yeah, so yes, we are in retail stores. We have some that we're starting to. We have partner doors. HIC is a great partner in Hawaii.
Nice.
HSS here in Orange County, and Hobie down the coast as well. But we're starting to expand, and we're looking to other retailers. And I think the key thing, what we're trying to do, is find great retailers that are able to sort of tell the brand story. It's a crowded space. You've been into any surf shop,
Yeah.
and it gets pretty chaos. And so our focus is to kind of pick the ones that feel great, and just have a little bit of a presence and tell the brand story. And so we find as that happens, we show up really well. And so as we said a couple times, the space is in it's a chaotic moment where a lot of the brands that, would be sort of front and center competitors are literally at Kohl's, they're at Costco, they're doing all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would say the market as an overall is being devalued. Our opportunity is to sort of break through that and sort of make nice product, and that people are coming into the store going, oh my God, I have to have that. I saw that, so-and-so was wearing that and I need one of those. I'm not sure in the current model if that is happening for the other brands.
I don't think so either.
No.
We were kind of talking about that the other day. It's like, man, you can go to Costco and get all these other guys, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
And that's never cool, right?
It's not.
When your mom gets you, stuff at Costco, and you're like, oh, what?
It's just a different business model. And so it's not even to throw shade at them.
Right.
It
You're
just
right.
shows
Yeah.
the opportunity for us.
Yeah.
And,
But it's still not cool.
Yeah. And it's like, you just kind of think like, there's a photo we have from John. John went to New Zealand last year, and there's this image where they're camping. There's a little fire going, tent, and like this perfect wave breaking. And it's the thing that like every day I see
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. It just feels like that's where we want to be.
Right.
And I think bringing people into that environment is super cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming to our environment.
I know, right?
This has been great. I learned a lot.
I know. I just got like a lot more questions that I could go on for hours and hours, but
Yeah.
I feel like we can cycle back and do this again at another time. And
Yeah.
it's
Like Bruce was saying, we're
Absolutely.
tinkering how to transition out of an episode. And I think this is the perfect practice, Brad.
we have the hardest time getting out of an episode. Joe and I do. We just like babble, blah, 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 we go on and
Yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
just kind of like this and whatever. But how can we find you guys? I mean, not personally, but you know what I mean.
I was going to give Bruce's phone number.
Yeah, FlorenceMarineX.com, and great partner doors like HIC and Hobie and HSS. And
Yeah. More to come.
yeah, more to come.
Sweet.
Very cool. And what can we do to help you guys out?
I think this is a lot of fun. It's just, I would say thank you to you guys. It is fun, starting this thing out of nothing. The stuff that you guys have said back and just have followed is really appreciated because, just like anything, it's like, it seems like we've got all these great pieces, but we appreciate the sport because otherwise we're just sort of, I like to hang out with everyone, but
Right,
Yeah.
right.
it's nice to hear the support, and it really means a lot. So thank
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah, well, we'll continue to do that for sure.
Yeah.
We like
Oh, yeah.
we like supporting guys that we enjoy supporting,
Doing
that
cool
are cool,
things,
doing cool stuff, and have a good message and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
so we're gonna see you guys though. So we are we're partnering with Catalina paddle,
Okay.
the classic this summer,
Nice.
and
Okay.
with Molokai to Oahu.
Wow.
So we're going to be doing.
So both paddleboard.
We're doing both those events.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
so
cool.
Nice.
Well, if Joe and I can get a boat and on a media boat, we'll cover it.
yep.
Yeah.
We can do it. No problem.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a lot of insight on who's who, but yeah, that'd be great.
It's okay. We'll get a starting list
Yeah.
from somebody. We just call it out as we go.
I'll jump on the boat with you.
There we go.
That'd be cool.
that'll
I'll
be
start
super
yelling at
helpful.
people. I'll jump in for 5 seconds, but like I did it.
Yeah,
Exactly. I crossed the channel. Yeah. Very cool. Well, again, guys, thank you guys so much for coming over. And
you.
I mean, this has been a huge, huge treat for me. And, you know, like I said, I could fanboy about your surfing career forever. I've followed surfing forever. And
Thank you.
yeah, so really, really cool. And I'm
Yeah,
glad you guys are doing
awesome.
such cool work, you know. And, you know, thank you
Thanks,
so much.
appreciate it.
Yeah, very cool talking to you over the phone, Bruce, and doing all this stuff and getting this all together. And thanks to Uncle Doug for setting this whole thing up, huh?
Yeah.
Kind of a
absolutely.
random deal.
Absolutely.
He texted me, he's like, hey, do you know Florence? You know, I'm like, oh, yeah. You know, it's a really cool brand. He goes, yeah, so my neighbor works for me. This is how it started. I go, okay, cool. And he goes, would you be interested to talk to him? I go, 100%. Like, we want to talk to everybody. Like, we don't, you know, we talk about some of the great guys that we've talked to in the paddling world, but like we talked about, the story comes from the 85% at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's where all all the experience and the trials and tribulations all come out of. You know, the top guys are training all the time. They're living
They're
the
not that fun
lifestyle.
to talk to.
Yeah, you know, they got they have a lot of they know what they do, right?
Well, they preserve the sport too. I mean,
Yeah.
and so does the other 15%, but the 85 definitely do.
Yeah, they
you
preserve
know?
the sport,
and
and they keep pushing it forward.
I had a lot more fun on tour than Kelly did.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He kept winning, and I got to go do fun stuff.
Yeah,
right. You're still doing fun stuff.
Yep. Like, oh, I'm out. Okay, now we're gonna go surf over here. Let everyone,
Yeah.
let everyone go over there, whatever. But no, this is really cool, and look forward to having you guys back and talk more about, especially
that's
new
good.
upcoming stuff you guys got going on. You know, we'd love to chat about it.
Some check-ins
And,
maybe.
Yeah. Help release some news maybe, and to our little. I don't know how many do we have now? 12,000 subscribers or so on the channel. Yeah, we're doing all right.
That's
For
great.
1 year.
Yeah, for 1 year, that's
it's
great.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but again, guys, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
mahalo.
Appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you guys
Yep,
so much.
yep, very much. And that's it. We're gonna wrap it.
Wrap it.
Okay.
The Broadcast Braddahs.
All right.
Justin
Face
Fasano, Joan Holova. Thank you guys.
Yep.
Pat O'Connell.
Bruce Moore.
Bruce Moore.
All right.
Right on, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Shoots. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, boys.
All right.